Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last talk for today at BUZZ Expo. I'm happy to welcome Matt Skallerud, president of Pink Media, who's in the LGBTQ online industry for over 20 years.
Hello, everyone.
That's quite a number. Pink Media specializes in LGBTQ online marketing, targeting gays and lesbians via content marketing, social media, ad banners, mobile smartphone apps, and more. Today, he will give you tips and techniques for LGBTQ destination marketing. Welcome, Matt. Please let our audience know more about LGBTQ destination marketing and yourself, of course.
Wow, what an intro. Well, thank you so much. No, we've been doing, like you said, we've been doing LGBT marketing and advertising, helping clients reach the community online for almost 25 years now. And so, and it's changed, and we've gone from just banner ads and email to now social and mobile and video. So that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about here.
That's great. Well, I'm interested in that, and of course the audience as well. So,
yeah. So let's
get us to know more.
Let's get ready to share that screen, I guess, in 3,
2, 1.
And let's see. There we go.
That worked perfect.
Great. And so what we're going to be talking about is, as we can see, online marketing. This is myself. And if you need to reach me, you're going to do any, especially after hopefully we excite you and motivate you to do some social media posts. And so these are some of the ways that you can not only tag us, but the show. And also I realize the show has hashtag #bebuzzexpo, so I need to point that out.
All good.
But here, real quick, like I said, what this is going to be is a very general overview. And so hopefully it gets you interested in some things. And at the end, I'll have my information, so you can always email me asking more questions. But in general, what the overview starts with, this is where we're at today. And just to kind of get us on the same page. Because remember back in the day when we just had Netscape as a web browser, and we'd be like, oh, I need to find these things. So you would bookmark stuff. That was your only connection to everything, all the resources for you online. But then Google came along and said, don't worry about it. Just tell us what you're looking for, and we'll find you the best answers right now. But it's a very active process when people are going in search, which is, of course, still very relevant today. But what's come along over the last 10 years plus now is discovery, which is social media, and whether that's video, whether that's mobile, desktop. But it's that place where, people are sitting there having a little coffee in the morning, and they're they're kind of going through a news feed and asking themselves, like, what are my friends up to? So they're not really actively looking for anything, but they are passively being able to learn more about what's going on in their environment. And that's where you want to be able to shine as well. So those are the kind of the big picture areas that we're going to talk about here today. So going into the active, like where are things at in today's world now? I would have thought banner ads would be dead by now, because they were just, they were the first kind of advertising that you would see online. But what you notice is that it's really taken off a lot. So, when you're on Amazon, you look at a pair of shoes, then you kind of surf around on different places of the internet, and those shoes follow you. And you're like, how did this happen? That's all part of something bigger called programmatic advertising. What that means is that companies nowadays are able to place banner ads on a variety of different sites and use data to be able to figure out what they're really looking for is to be able to target people with very specific interests. In this case, I'm showing they could target people that are interested in Caribbean cruises, family cruises, and so forth. And here's some other data that's available to, different travel data. But also there's data that's based on kind of like if you want to reach high net worth consumers, first class travelers. So all that is there, and it's all available to advertisers on behalf of clients today. So this is that's kind of the higher level of what you're seeing on the world of banners. And that also translates over to mobile. So in the world of mobile, when you're on your phone and you're actually able to advertise on some of the apps that are very popular with gay men and lesbian women, when they're apps that are specific to those markets, but you're able not only to target based on data, but also very specific to neighborhoods. So you're just seeing a lot of advances in technology merged with advertising that you as a destination hotel tour operator can tap into. And this is the one that's the most common that most of you are all tapping into now. But I show this third because this is really the exact same thing that of everything you saw with banner ads and mobile, which is targeting on Facebook. But targeting on Facebook's made it so the company has made it so that you can go home and, if you're not doing this already, do it yourself. And what you're doing is you're targeting based on interest. So you're saying, I want to reach, in this case, people who live in the New York City area who have shown an interest in LGBT travel and who have shown an interest in my destination. The fact that you can reach those people means that targeting today, this is why Facebook and Google are the #1 and #2 places that advertising dollars go to, is because this type of targeting, available to anybody to do campaigns that are as small as $50 to $100, that sort of technology at that cost was never available to us before. So it's amazing what people are able to do. And of course, Instagram is a part of Facebook, so you're actually able to port or move your ads over from Facebook into Instagram seamlessly. And so you're able to use the same data, same behaviors, same targeting, and make sure that whatever you've created for Facebook goes over to Instagram. And that's kind of what it looks like in their back end, showing you, what Facebook will do is show you, what does that ad look like on Instagram as well. Now, what's nice is that when it's on Instagram, now you have a call to action, which a lot of us kind of feel like it's missing. So now not only is your image showing up with some content to talk about it, but you have that learn more book now. You have something people can click on. And I'm sure most of you are already very familiar with this, but this is part of the landscape of what you as a destination or again, travel-based company can do on your own. And of course, we talk about search. So we always say search is always going to be very important because it's the active component that people are saying, I'm seeking, I want to, gay hotel in Madrid. Those sort of searches will always be there. But what's important is that what I'm showing here is how search kind of plays like for very typical website traffic that you're able to measure, there's always a portion that just go directly to you. But social, as of about 3 or 4 years ago, has surpassed search when it comes to driving traffic to websites. But search is still very important. But I show this because also now you can see all the stats in the bottom right, and I'm highlighting the 2 areas that are most important. This is really important, and it's kind of geeky, but I think we want to always put that out there as the basic baseline for the geekiness level that we want to go in this stuff, which is page views per session, 1.44. What that means, any page view per session under 2 means that most people are going to a website, seeing what they need, and then leaving. And that's important for you to know because a lot of people are saying, oh, I want to make sure that my front page is done really well and there's a traffic flow from one place to the other. But the vast majority of users are finding information through social media or search, and they are going to your website and they're staying, what this is showing, an average session of about 30 seconds, and then they're out. So it's good because they're probably finding what they were looking for, but most of them are not sticking around to find more information. They're going back to the source of where they were at. Now, if you have numbers on your website that are better than this, that means you're doing something really well. That means that you're capturing people and keeping them on. But back in the old days, we used to be able to keep people on our websites for half an hour sometimes on a community or a portal type of website. But now that is no longer the case. And so this is just showing just a snapshot of search and search ad buys, which most of you already know you can do. But this was for one for gay travel to Italy. And so keywords and Google just really gives you incredibly detailed information about what people are searching for and how you can tap into that for your own company as well. What's also important is how search has migrated into, or how social has migrated into search. So when you're on Google and you type in a lot of times just Twitter, something that's kind of trending on Twitter, or you type in a hashtag like this, like LGBT, they are starting to more and more integrate Twitter and Twitter feeds into the Google results. And so everything you're doing on social is now feeding into more and more and has relevance on search as well. So that's like one piece. That's like one quick little overview of that section, because then now we're going to kind of move over into, it's taking off from what we were speaking of, but it's another way of looking at it, but it's a social media landscape. So many of you are looking at, especially if it's a media website and you're advertising with somebody and you're saying, hey, I want to drive traffic to my site. You're looking at this model, which is these are your consumers out there or your target audience. And the website you're working with is using social media as a way of driving traffic directly to their site and from their site over to you. That's like a very traditional media model that you've seen, especially about 10 years ago. And some companies still use that today. But what's important to note is that a lot of this is now migrated into going direct, which is that you're able to go direct on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google search, all these. You're able to go there and reach your client, your customer base directly through social media posts and so forth. But this is the language that influencers are using. And you're seeing more and more media companies do this as well. So media companies will say, hey, we'll promote you on our website, but we'll also promote you directly on Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, because we know that there's power and there's value there that we're going to drive that traffic to your website. So what we say is that social media conversations are doing a lot of the heavy lifting of communicating your company's image and information and driving traffic to your site. So not just the idea about social media driving traffic to somebody else's site and then finally to you, it's that these are doing a lot of heavy lifting for you directly. So this is what it looks like. So there's strong value in the social media post itself, not just in this case here, this is video. So you can tell a story through video on whether it's Instagram or Twitter, and we're gonna dive into more detail about exactly what you can do in each one of those platforms. But you can post video, which is doing a lot of the heavy lifting and telling your story. Photos. So photos are very important as well. So you can have the photos out there kind of telling your story. In this case, it's Gay Travel to Italy again. And not only are we creating a post that uses the right hashtags, tags, different profiles to be able to drive traffic to them as well through their profile, build followers, as well as link to their site, but also has that direct call to action, the link to their site as well. So, and this is the typical performance you can expect. So there really is something there. So, you know, when typically you're looking at when you post something online or you're working with another company to help drive traffic to whether it's an article or your website, you know, you're dealing with, you know, you're buying in the, let's just say 100,000 impressions and you maybe are getting like 500 to 1,000 click-throughs to your site over a period of a month or something. Well, these are just single individual posts, and this is typical of what happens, which is not only are you getting impressions, but you're getting engagement, which means that people are actually liking, commenting, or sharing on your post, as well as clicking through. So you're getting much more of a relationship and engagement with what you're posting. And this is just something you can do. This is just one post, but if you did this once a day, 3 or 4 times per week, whatever frequency you wanted to do, you start to add this up and it starts to really make sense in terms of visibility and driving traffic to your site. So what we say is we're communicating now more than ever via the power of storytelling. Now, anyone and everyone has, you know, who has a story to tell, they can tell their story. They can go direct to their audience. And the power has shifted from the story that was typically in a blog or a longer form content into conversation form, which is that whole social media influencers, more conversational, more short form, but with more frequency, being able to kind of keep your story alive out there on a regular basis. So I lied. There are more geeky slides, but if you just put in a few, and they're important, and they're similar to what you've seen earlier, which is trying to understand really quickly, why is it that Facebook works so well for most of you? Like most everyone will say, oh, you know, you post something, and especially on your personal page, Facebook works extremely well. But once you go into the business page and you start posting things about your business on that one, it typically doesn't do as well. The reason is because your personal profile is a two-way relationship. It goes both ways. That is the power of social media. And your business page, if you think about it, it's one way only. It's just you broadcasting out to the world. And so social media was never really built to be that way. So that's why the only way, in our opinion, that you could truly succeed with your business page on Facebook and even with porting that over to Instagram is through paid advertising. Now, of course, there's always exceptions. There are some business pages we have seen that have good engagement and strong traffic, but it's very rare. Most of us have to fight really hard for that. So turning a one-way relationship into a two is always key. And this is just the typical examples. Facebook, these are personal profiles, and these personal profiles have been utilized by people that their personal persona and their business persona have kind of combined into one. So if you're able to do that, you can really make Facebook work for you for free. And these folks, El Salvado, Richard Gray, they're both kind of anchors in the LGBT travel space. And they really have successfully made Facebook work for them from their personal profiles. But most of us don't have that option. And so this is just kind of examples of why that works. So Twitter, this is the secret. This is the secret to how you make it work. So if you believe what I was saying and you understand turning a one-way relationship into a two, where you're both communicating, engaging with, showing interest, it's a much more human way of interacting. That's how you make Twitter work. That's how you take just having a lot of followers with a profile that doesn't have a lot of, that is not following a lot of other people back, shows that typically you're just posting and kind of shouting out to the world, but they're not necessarily looking back at you very well. But if you're engaged, you're human, you show interest, and you also follow people that are in your industry and so forth, you can make Twitter work for you as well. And that's kind of the key, and that's the magic. So what we say is that businesses large and small, including nonprofits, they're really telling their story directly to their audience. And our thing is, your company and your message need to be relevant where this power has shifted. You want to be part of the conversation that's going on out there. So influencers, they're part of the conversation. This is essentially what has set them apart from traditional media, is that they're out there and they're talking about themselves, usually on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and they have all these people following them. Most influencers are a little more celebrity-like, so typically they'll have more followers and they have to follow back. But the good ones really do show interest in their fan base. But what we're saying here is that you really want to start thinking about influence and influencers differently for your own business, because that's how you can become a part of this. When you realize that influence isn't necessarily an outcome, is an outcome and not a profession, which means you're thinking about influences. How do I find, you're going from how do I find the right influencers to how do I influence? How can I get my message out there, maybe be a thought leader and so forth, to really be able to play in the sandbox of where the Tyler Oakleys of the world are. So what we say is influence. It's audience reach. Then you're dealing with brand affinity, which is what we're going to talk a little more, and then strengthen that relationship. And to us, this is the success with social media when you're looking at it from an influencer perspective. And so audience reach, what is the size and who are they? So that's where you're either working with an influencer and they're going to work with you, or you're doing this yourself. So this is the base: subscribers, followers, and friends. But this is an important part, brand affinity. Are they well aligned with me? If I'm going to work with them, is their messaging and what they have to say, does that align with what I want to be a part of? So, and also, are they really strong in their industry as well? Or are they just kind of, putting things out there? Are people following them because they think they're cute? So you really want to be able to kind of differentiate between these things. And then the strength of the relationship. Always look and see really quickly, are people engaged with the folks either you want to work with or even for yourself? Are they engaged? And engagement is not just likes on Instagram posts, but also comments and when you get to Twitter and Facebook, shares or retweets. So you start looking at that as kind of a more holistic overall approach. And this is just kind of a summary. These are some of the travel influencers that we worked with over the last few years that understand all these components. They're very good at what they do, but they're all different. They all have different messaging or different audiences. And the important part is for you just to kind of understand that they're there and there's more. And then you ask yourself, how can I be a part of that? And how can I work with these folks to focus on the idea of influence and not just working with them as influencers? But this is what happens when you start doing this. These are posts from influencers out there that have a strong following. But if you notice, each one of the posts, the photos are tagged and it says you in there. That's us. You just simply means that they tagged us because we became we were engaged with them. So they were not posting just broadcasting out one way. They were actually posting and crafting tweets that included the people that they wanted, that they were either talking about or that they wanted to be a part of that conversation. So that's your goal. Your goal is, what can I do to engage with and be closer to or work with influencers who would feel compelled to want to tag and include us as a company as well. And just more examples. In fact, this one's good because I'm in my mid-50s and she's probably a little younger than me, but it also shows that it's not always just people on Instagram that are in their 20s that are influencers. Influencers is a broad spectrum of individuals who have a strong following for their niche. So what we say is Instagram's kind of a funny little hybrid. It's a hybrid because most successful celebrities, or if you're going to be really successful on Instagram, you got to have 100,000 followers. But the question is, how do you get 100,000 followers? Because most people in normal work, for most of us, you follow someone, they follow you back. It's your friends, your people, professional contacts. So that's the two-way street that most of us are playing with on Instagram. But did you know that there's only 7,500 people you can follow? That's the cap. There is a cap of how many people you could follow. So to be successful on Instagram, you have got to be able to get more people following you than you can ever follow. So understanding that just means understanding the landscape becomes a little more clear. of how Instagram fits into that landscape. So this is last year in 2019, as far as how many active daily users, and that's always important, not just how many follower or users they have overall, but how many are actually actively using these platforms every single day. And we show all this. The key is, like on Facebook, they're bigger than everyone else, but your personal profile is maxed out at 5,000 friends and followers. So you're always typically just reaching a small portion of them unless you're advertising. And that same goes towards Instagram. So Twitter is that area we spend a lot of time with, because it is the area where you can get a lot more of that two-way engagement. And I show this because this came later, where they've been growing. This is kind of showing their growth over time of the number of daily active users. But I will tell you that right now, as of 2020, they're at 152 million active daily users. So it's not as big as some of the other ones, but the fact that you can actually be engaged with such a wide expanse of the market means that there's strong value there. So for all of them, this is the real goal. The real goal is that you want to post something and you really want to kind of, in that megaphone appearance here, what you really want to be able to do is be able to expand your reach. And what you really ultimately want to do is post something and then have your immediate followers like it, comment, share, engage with it, and then be on a platform that then allows their friends and followers to be able to see what you're doing. So again, that's why we spend a lot of time on Twitter, because Twitter is built that way to reach friends of friends. But Facebook and Instagram is typically only reaching your friends or followers one level out. And so it's always important. But again, I know it's quick, it's kind of a general overview, but when you catch those points, you'll start to see like, oh yeah, I can see the importance of the things I'm posting and what my expectations are and what I need to do in order to be able to really, at the end of the day, succeed in this space online. So video is hot now. And so this is just a very light overview, but right now you can create a video as a commercial and run that on what's called pre-roll. So you can run it on YouTube, or you can even use programmatic and make sure that it was really put out there on a variety of different websites in the video that they're running, whether that could be advocate.com, pride.com, queerty. So there's a lot of video content that you could target your advertiser, your customer base in the exact same way banner ads can be targeted, but it would be with video. So this is like the most common, the basics, but there's more out there. This is hot, especially during the pandemic, where everybody's been fixed on their Netflix and Amazon Prime and watching a lot of TV, streaming television. Now, more and more advertisers, if you've noticed, are sneaking into your connected television experience. And you might be watching a program on Roku, and next thing you know, you're seeing commercials that are targeted towards you. It's because all that programmatic is leaping from pre-roll desktop advertising we saw on the last screen into connected TVs. And Reverie is part of that, but Reverie is interesting because it's a pure LGBT channel that's growing and growing out there. And we actually work with them directly as well. So we actually work with clients and place video advertising on Reverie while also being able to target LGBT targeted audiences on a wide variety of different shows out there as well. But this is always fun because this is, again, how you migrate from that bigger picture advertising into video as content. So video as content, again, is something you can probably, if you're not doing already, you can do on your own. And I show this video.
Hey, I'm John.
And I'm Kent.
And this is our great British adventure,
London. Let's go.
And those videos are compelling, but those videos are long, on the long form. These are my tips that I had also put in the slide that you just saw. My tips would be long form video can go on YouTube and also be posted on your business page on Facebook. But most people are not necessarily always going to really watch your full 10 or 15-minute video. That's long form. So what you really want to be able to do is focus on putting shorter versions. On Instagram, you can do 1 minute. On Twitter, you can do 2 minutes. And what you really want to be able to do is place those videos in their native format like this on Twitter, create the tweet, tag everybody properly, and then have a link to the longer form version. And you could actually link and queue up to exactly where the Twitter video ended so that there's no disruption in the user's experience. So what you're doing is that you're realizing that people are on Twitter and they're kind of going like this on their phone and they're swiping. They're not stopping usually to watch your 10-minute video. You have to just be okay with that. But they are pausing to be able to kind of, when your video jumps out at them, like, oh, this is interesting. Your job is to get their interest and then take them by the hand and lead them along to the rest of your video content. So that last video that we showed, which was done with Visit Gay Britain, this is just this is exactly what that looks like. So you take that video, put the 2-minute version up, and have a link so they could see the longer form. So again, and also I left out LinkedIn, which is very good if you have a business-to-business aspect to your outreach, because there you can put up to 10 minutes of the video. And again, most people are not going to watch your full 10 minutes, but always think about what can I do to get excitement at the very beginning of that video for them. And here's something that we're doing new much more often now is we're taking the same videos that we edit for what's called that 16:9, the wide ratio. Now start turning them around and consider editing for 9:16. So that just means that you're making it more for what we're doing is creating these for Instagram TV, where you can put your full-length video on Instagram. People watch them there. And in addition, you can put a 1-minute version on TikTok and then tell people if you want the longer form, here's where to go. So, this is Jeff.
Well, hello, welcome to I Love Gay Today. And this is our first returning guest.
So that's it. That's all the different touch points and the content. And so in summary, what we say is, this is what you're looking at doing, starting with either photos or video or written content. And then what you're doing is you're taking that and you're putting that into targeted placements online. So what you're doing is you're putting that on targeted Facebook, social media, websites. And in addition, you're able to measure all the performance of that as well. So you saw some performance that we were highlighting earlier. And of course, your job is to be at the forefront of all these LGBT conversations. But this is typical performance. So you're seeing that for $500, what we did with a paid boost on Facebook, we were able to get 10,000 people reach that were targeted based on a very targeted audience we created for the client. And we got 854 click-throughs on a post. You can do that as well. And also, we've had, here's another one, it was $200, and we got even better performance. So it's a wide variety of things you could test out on your own. And this is showing that Facebook even gets into much more detail. Not only are you measuring, how many people saw it, how many people clicked through, but you can see how many people were engaged with your posts as well. For Twitter, this is showing what we do on free posts. The organic is the blue, and then the promoted is the orange. And that just shows that what you're typically capable is, it matches the slides earlier. Typical performance for free, and then what happens when you boost those. And when we did the same thing for the videos you saw, I mean, who doesn't want to be able to get that, almost 10,000 video views? And this is all under $500. So there's so many wonderful options available to you out there that really maximize and touch on numbers that you've never been able to reach typically before. So we say paid outreach. This is a summary of what you can do. And the little dollar sign simply mean that typically it's more expensive than others. So inexpensive is Twitter, Facebook targeted, very inexpensive. And then it just kind of goes up from there. And then organic or free, the little asterisks are more about performance. Like which ones can you get a lot more performance for your time that you're putting in versus others. So that is our presentation. I know it may have been a little quick in some ways, and hopefully it raised some questions where if you had any further questions, we would love to be there for you, be able to answer those. And if you wanted to download the presentation, it's available as well. So I thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you all.
Well, Matt, it had been our pleasure to have you talking here. So I think this had been really great insights on, well, let's call it easy steps, maybe. People can start really interacting and getting really into the target audience, if you want to call it like that. And what would you, for example, suggest? Maybe there are people just out there who think, okay, LGBT, interesting, but I have no clue at all how to really reach out. What content could be interesting?
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
Yeah, especially if it's a destination, you could highlight some of the events going on over the next few months, or if events are not quite as in vogue now that people are quarantining, you just look at different stories to tell. You could talk about restaurants or people kind of getting out, eating outdoors, all the different things. But you're always looking at different angles of something you could talk about, and then just figuring out, how do I want to talk about that? Do I want to write about it and just sort of get that out with a few photos? Do I want to create a video? And there's a lot of right answers of content development that then you would just target the people that you want to reach and make sure that you're putting your time and money towards exactly the people that you want to be able to come into your restaurant, your hotel, what have you.
Yeah, I think that's well, in the end, quite obvious. And I think one thing everybody who's really interested in the LGBTQ market and marketing could contact you, for example, right? I think you're open for that.
It's what we do for a living, but we also help whether through these presentations and other content that we post online to just try to help people to understand the landscape and do some themselves or hire us if they want to do more.
Yeah, I think it's always kind of really important. I had some other talks about the LGBTQ tourism, and I really found out there are people that really want to, but don't know how. So this is great that we had you talking today to really get that topic out in the world once again. And I can only, well, tell you all, Matt is member of BUZZ.travel. Get to his booth. Make a connection request. I think Matt will for sure accept it. And yeah, get in touch, get to know more, be interested, very important, open-minded, and yeah, get together and get working.
Oh, thank you so much.
Perfect, Matt. Thanks a lot for your time, for your presentation. We stay in touch, and I hope to see you soon again.
You got it. Take care now.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.